What is going on, y'all? Papa Tez here with another Summoner's Glory video. So, my goal today is within 30 minutes to get through all the Darkness Phantoms and their changes. So, let's hop to it. All right, let me make sure which is which. I think this one. Let me check it real quick. Let me make sure. All right, so yeah, this is my test account here. There we go. Back to Grimoire, Darkness. Okay, cool. All right, so let's first go over old stuff. All right, we're gonna start with Ripper. So Ripper, which may not have changed much, but we'll take a look. Inflicts 200 magic damage on a single target with a 70% chance to sleep. Does go all the way up to 100% chance to sleep with 260 damage. So really nice skill. Then here, attacks all enemies, causes 300 magic damage on each enemy, and removes all buffs with a 40% chance to place sleep on each enemy. So that can be booked all the way up to 100% with 330 damage, and can go down to a 3-turn cooldown. So that's kind of nuts right there. That's really good. So a buff removal and a sleep. Then here, resurrects all allies and restores 40% of their maximum health. Resurrected allies will increase their action bar by 20% and heal for 15% of their max health for 2 turns. Can go all the way down to a 5-turn cooldown, up to 70% of the max health, and 30% health each turn. It sounds so good. And then here, when attacking a sleeping enemy, the damage is increased by 10%, all the way up to 25%. So looks really, really good. All right, let's take a look at it on the test server. Looks like it has not changed except for maybe a little bit more damage output there. I'm gonna have to talk to them about that. That don't look right. That don't look right at all. But this skill doesn't change. And then that's there. Okay. We're gonna ask them about that. Because if that's the case, that means he's just gonna kill everything in the game over and over again. So I don't think that that's correct. I will check and make sure that that one is correct. We'll check on that one. All right. So one thing I do want everybody to realize is that a lot of things that I will be showing you are subject to change. So there may be a couple of things that are off, especially in the wording in comparison to what these skills might actually do. So they are subject to change. Things are in the final stages. And again, a lot of us as content creators and also other players are stepping in and helping out and finding as many bugs and things as we can. One of the things that I've been working on is making sure that skills and things are worded correctly. So if you guys see anything like that, then you can be sure to send it to me, or just forward it over. But you can send it to me and then I can go ahead and get it sent in for anybody that already isn't on the test server and stuff like that. So you can send it my way, then I'll get it submitted in for you so that we can get changed. Or if you have any questions, let me know. All right, what are we at? Okay, we made it through the first one pretty quickly. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Fear Demon. Attacks one enemy, deals 150 magic damage, and applies 1 stack of fear. Up to 3 stacks. Each stack of fear reduces the target's damage by 10%. It can't be removed and dissipated once Fear Demons is killed. So you got to take them out in order to remove that. So that's on his A1. And then here, uses the power of the Demon World to exchange the user's current HP with the current HP of one ally. All right, which we're used to. And then inflicts fear on all enemies. Each stack of fear deals magic damage equal to 20% of Fear Demon's lost HP. Converts 50 of the damage into HP for the user. So that's on a 3-turn cooldown. Looks like it can go up to 40% of the lost HP. And here, when taking damage, there's a 50% chance to block, reducing damage by 20% and removing control effects inflicted by the enemy. Each time the user loses 20% HP, the chance of blocking increases by 5%. So really, really cool. booked all the way up to 65%. And then for every 20% HP loss, there's another chance. So bam. Let's take a look here. Let me make sure. Was that all the new changes? Oh no, this is the new one, right? Yeah, I can tell by the looks of that, right? Okay, look, I'm getting confused here. Let me make sure. All right, no, we're looking at the new changes now. Okay, I had to make sure. I had to make sure. All right. So here, attacks all enemies causing magic damage equal to 120% magic defense. If the target is under the effect of burn, bleed, or poison, an additional layer of fear is placed on the target. So he's going to be defensive based and then can play an additional layer of fear. So I wonder if there's going to be at least one layer already. So here, attacks all enemies causes magic damage equal to 170% magic defense, placing one layer of fear with the 50% chance to stun each target, all the way up to 75% and 200% of the magic defense there. Also, too, the damage increases to 150 there on the skill 1. So skill 3, when attacking an enemy, one layer of fear is placed on the target, causing magic damage equal to 120% of their defense, of his defense. Fear cannot be cleansed, and whenever an enemy accumulates 4 layers of fear, the effect will be cleansed, causing a fear explosion that causes magic damage to the enemy equal to 50% of the user's current HP and restoring 50% of the damage done to the user. Goodness. So he's definitely a straight up nuke. So it does say that it cannot be cleansed, but it doesn't say that it can't be resisted. So again, he's a tank, but he also hits it seems like that he will be able to hit pretty hard. Also, check this out. Whenever an enemy is killed, a random ally is resurrected with 15% of their maximum HP. So the cooldown is 3 turns, can be all the way up to 1 turn. So you just imagine that, just basically constantly able to revive no matter what. So yeah, it looks like it takes the cooldown away completely here. So yeah, you'll just be able to pop them back up over and over again. So really, really cool kit. Really different kit. All right, let's move on to Mr. Lord of Shadows. Let's take a look at him. So we're kind of used to his kit with the attack one enemy, but 100% magic damage and reduces magic defense by 50% for 1 turn, all the way up to 120. So that was amazing, of course, because that did end up stacking. Then this one, which is a hard-hitting skill, summon shadows to attack all enemies 4 times in a row, dealing 19% of the user's max HP with a 30% chance of stunning them for 1 turn. If this attack kills an enemy, unit will get an additional turn. So this was already on a 2-turn cooldown. Oh my goodness. This is that ability. This is that ability. All right, so take a look at this one. Place immune death effect on one teammate for 2 turns, and then he will gain another turn immediately. So he would do that and then gain another turn. This went all the way down to 3 turns. So he just was fast acting. Really cool. And then this, with the passive being attacked, there's a 50% chance of performing a counterattack and dealing 200 magic damage, all the way up to 250. All right, now let's take a look at the new skills here. Let's take a look at the new skills. How has he changed? Attacks an enemy causing magic damage equal to 140 magic defense with a 75% chance to reduce their magic defense and physical defense by 50%. Can be booked all the way out to 100% and 70% chance. So again, defensive based. And then here, attacks all enemies causing magic damage equal to 20% magic defense. 20% of the caused damage will be converted into HP of each ally. Additionally, there's a 25% chance to stun each enemy for 1 turn. And as you can see, the stun goes up to 50% and a total of 250% of the magic defense. So that's really, really cool. So he not only attacks, but then he heals everyone. As you can see, this cooldown just goes all the way out. So it's a little bit of I feel like a little bit of a nerf to him, except for this here. Places unkillable and continuous healing, restoring 15% each turn to all allies for 2 turns. So this is definitely a huge buff and conversion to what he did have. So he does the unkillable and he heals. So he actually functions completely different. He functions like a healer as a protector of your team. So this is really cool, as you can probably make some crazy unkillable comps. You imagine getting those skill cooldowns or seeing if we can extend some of these things. So if you can extend this and then get it to lap, basically. So just think about it. It's at 7 turns, it goes down to 4. Then you extend it and you got him fast enough to where he goes twice before the boss. And bam, now you got a nice unkillable comp. So really, really cool. Really cool dude. All right, let's take a look at Dracula. We've already liked Dracula a lot, but let's take a look. Attacks one enemy, deals 100 magic damage and converts 50 of the damage into HP. Deals 250 magic damage to all enemies with a 25% chance of stunning. And I think a lot of people ran him in stun set. Some people I think did damage. That can go up to 295 on the damage. This one 120. Then here, when attacked, Dracula has a 30% chance to sleep the enemy for 1 turn, all the way up to 45%. And then at the beginning of the turn, Dracula has a 25% chance of removing all control effects and restoring HP equal to 30% of the magic attack. And then the restoration effect goes all the way up to 70%. So out with the old and in with the new. What does he look like now? So same A1, just he gets a lot more damage. The A2 is also the same, except for a ton more damage. So he gets it actually gets a chance to start converting some of that damage into HP. So he hits really hard, converts 20% of the damage into HP for himself. And then here, the same thing. And then the same thing here. So Dracula did already get a rework. So he was one that showed up in the game early and really nice. So he is getting what it seems like at least a little bit more damage ramping up. So he will be a pretty hard hitting mage. All right, let's move on to Demon Catcher, who complete change here. So we got that bombard one enemy and deals 90% physical damage, booked up to 120. Then here, shoots an enemy 3 times, causing 240 damage. They can't be rezzed. And then the damage increases up to 285. If I remember correctly, she did get reworked already, but we'll see. And I am looking at the right place. Okay. And then when attacking, inflicts Exorcist Mark for 2 turns, increasing physical damage from Demon Catcher's attack by 80%, all the way up to 95%. And then the passive, which is the Explosive Mark. Make sure. And I'm not sure what Exorcist Mark is, but I'm assuming it's a damage ramping portion. So the Explosive Mark is when attacking, inflicts the enemy with Explosive Mark for 2 turns. When an enemy with this mark dies, it explodes and deals extra physical damage to nearby enemies equal to 80% of Demon Catcher's attack. All right, so now let's take a look now. Attacks an enemy causes 120 physical damage. If the user is under the effect of perfect invisibility, another attack will be made and a random buff will be stolen from the enemy. Remember, I was talking about that synergy. So, synergy. Number 2, attacks an enemy causes 370 physical damage with a 75% chance to reduce the enemy's physical defense by 50% for 2 turns. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be resurrected. So she still can do the block revive, but it goes up to 400 and 100% chance of placing in that decreased defense, which makes her really good for a lot of different areas of the game. Then here, she does place perfect invisibility on herself and then speeds herself up and grants crit rate. That's pretty nuts. So you think about that. She's putting that invisibility on herself. She's speeding herself up. So you only need to build her to 70% crit rate or less, depending on how you have your main character skilled up. She can just absolutely hit somebody with that skill. Or you attack them with the A1 first and then come back with that skill. Just kind of your choice there. All right. So take a look at this one with the Explosive Mark, which she still does at the start of a turn. If the user is under the effect of perfect invisibility, their damage is increased by 50% for one turn. After the end of that turn, if perfect invisibility is still applied, the user's physical defense and magic defense are increased by 25% for one turn, and their attack bar is increased by 15%. So she's just ramping up herself with that damage. So she is based off of physical damage. So she is a physical attacker. As you see, she's an assassin. And she's going to play well into that role. So she's straight nuking. Secret Dancer. I think we're doing pretty good on time. I'm hoping I am. Whoa. Yeah. Secret Dancer's changed over to dark now. So let's take a look at her skills now. I'm not going to switch. Well, actually, I guess we could. We could go back real quick. Take a look at what she used to be. Which she is definitely completely reworked. So we're used to that one attack with physical damage up to 115, 30% chance of stunning. And then she had the stab 4 times, causing 88 physical damage each, booked up to 100%, which she ended up doing 400 damage. But she had some pretty cool stuff. When an ally deals damage, there's a 40% chance of executing a counterattack, dealing 100 physical damage up to 130. And critical hits have a 35% chance of dealing additional physical damage equal to 8% of the user's HP, all the way up to 14%. She was just a huge single target nuker, always has been, just absolutely nuts on the nuking. However, let's take a look at her now. Has she changed? She has. Attack an enemy causing 120 physical damage with a 50% chance to increase user's attack bar by 10%. After attacking, if the user's under the effect of perfect invisibility, another attack is granted. So, yeah, she could just go again. Attack an enemy causes 470 physical damage and increasing attack bar by 50%. If the user's under the effect of perfect invisibility, there's a 75% chance to stun an enemy for 1 turn and prolong perfect invisibility for 2 turns, all the way up to 500% physical damage and also 100% chance to stun. So literally locking a person out completely, along with including her from being hit. So that means that you can build her paper thin if you want to, and it's going to be hard for people to hit her. Then here, she actually has an attack all enemies now. Causes 170 physical damage. If the user is under the effect of perfect invisibility, there is a 75% chance of reducing enemies' physical and magic defense by 50% and prolonging perfect invisibility for 2 turns. So 200 damage and 100. So that means that she can hit and just, man. And then take a look at this. After each turn, if the user is under the effect of perfect invisibility, action bar will be increased by 10% and HP will be restored by 6%, all the way up to 25% HP and restores up to 12%. So definitely different, but she does still hit hard. I think there has been some looks into how hard she hits. She can still one-shot. She can still do some one-shot stuff. So she's very, very capable, 100%. But she works really, really well now in the Dark Phantoms. Let's move on to the next one. We got Jester. Throws cards, 220 magic damage up to 250. Then he does the random shuffle, restores 25% of the target's HP, so whoever he chooses, and 40%, up to 40%. And then this skill, at the beginning of the turn, a random card is drawn, and additional effects are based on a suite of the cards. If it's hearts, clears all positive effects on the target. When healing, clears all negative effects of the target. If it's spades, if attacking, inflicts stun to the target. Or when healing, the target immediately receives a new turn. If it's diamonds when attacking, deals double damage to the target. If it's healing, the target will heal for double the amount. And clubs when attacking, deals damage to all enemies. And when healing, restores the health of all teammates. And then this one here, if a red card is drawn, the attack bar of all allies is increased by 20%. If a black card is drawn, the attack of all allies is increased by 30%. So he already has had a little bit of a rework from what he was toward the beginning. So we'll take a look here. It looks like he gets a little bit more damage. He still does the shuffle, but looks like the restoration increases to 50% and a cooldown of 1. And it looks like that this section is still the same. This section still looks the exact same across the board. And then here, the same thing, except for it goes up to 25% chance. So it's just different with the books, basically. But he also does remove negative effects from all allies if a black card is drawn. So I think that that is a little bit of a difference. So he's definitely can be a lot more viable than what he was. I think so. All right, Puppeteer is a big one. Puppeteer is a big one. All right. We can get through this. I don't know if I'm gonna get through this in 10 more minutes, but we're gonna try. All right, attack one enemy for 150 physical damage and 50% chance to absorb the attack bar by 35%. Grants one more turn if the enemy dies, which we're used to. Attacks all enemies 3 times, dealing 80 physical damage every for each one of those, and reduces enemy physical defense and magic defense by 30% for 2 turns, and deals additional true damage equal to 5% all the way up to 9%, and then 110 physical damage, and also reduces the enemy's physical and magic defense by 60%, up to 60%. So definitely was a big skill. She also had a resurrect for 30% HP and restored 15% of their HP for 3 turns. Went all the way up to a revival of 50%. And then we have the Marionette Room, which is when attacked, 35% chance to bounce enemy damage by 50% and restore 15% of her health, all the way up to 65% damage reduction and a 21% health restoration there. So what has changed on her? So now, attacks an enemy causes 120% of defensive. So she's a defensive nuker now. And then she has the chance of still reducing the attack bar. If the initial target dies by the skill, you gain a new turn immediately. So if you got a bunch of people low, you can just go smack, smack, smack with her. All the way up to 160% of that magic defense. And then there is a rework here to this skill. Attack all enemies, dealing magic damage equal to 220 of your magic defense, and additional true damage equal to 5% of the enemy's current HP. Now it did switch over to being 75% chance to have a reduced physical defense and magic defense by 50%. However, let me take a look. Yes, it can be booked up to what it seems like 100%, along with her doing 250 damage and 10% of the enemy's current HP. So true damage equal to 10% of the current HP. And then goes down to a 3-turn cooldown, which I thought was a 2-turn cooldown before. So definitely different. Then she has to restore an ally or resurrects an ally for 30%. Again, booked up to 50% on a 2-turn cooldown, and then at 15% healing. But it also increases the ally's attack by 50% for 2 rounds. So just straight up damage increase. Doesn't matter how they do damage. It's just as long as they're hitting something, they're going to get that increase if they get resurrected. So really good for squishies. And then also she has still the same thing. When attacked, there's a 35% chance to reflect 50% of the enemy's damage and restore 10% of the HP. So no longer, it's only 35% and only 50. And the HP restoration goes only up to 18%. So a little bit of a nerf on our Marionette Broom, making her a little bit easier to deal with. And at the same time, giving a little bit of a buff to Resurrection, changing the puppet key. So it's definitely different. It could definitely be better. It could definitely be better. And same thing with the A1 skill. So she's definitely got some changes there. She's definitely got some changes there that are different and unique. All right. Now we got the Minion Darkness. So he used to do a stabby stab and cause 90 physical damage up to 120%. And then he also used to do another attack with a trident, deal 255 damage up to 270 on a 2-turn cooldown. And then when attacking, 50% chance of reducing the enemy speed by 50%, booked up to 65%. And if the enemy's HP is less than 25%, attack deals 100% additional physical damage, up to 130. So he definitely was a little bit of a little mini nuker, but let's see what's changed. Attacks an enemy causes 120% physical damage. Every successful critical hit increases the user's damage by 50% for 2 turns. All the way up to 150. Randomly attacks enemies 3 times, causing 170% physical damage with each strike. Each successful crit hit decreases the target's physical defense and magic defense by 50% for 2 turns. All the way up to a 200 for each of the 3 strikes. So I'm assuming it's either, it's just 3 different random attacks and then all the way down to a 3-turn cooldown. And then upon receiving a fatal blow, unkillable buff is placed on the user for 1 turn. So he can keep himself alive there. So definitely a different change there. All right, look at our boy Mystic, who definitely looks totally different. He looks, all docile here. In the next one, he looks a little freaky. All right, let's take a look. Attacks on enemy deals 100 magic damage and decreases healing effectiveness by 50% for 1 turn. Booked up or skilled up to 120. I should start saying skilled up. Summons the Shadow Flash on the A2. Attacks all enemies 4 times, dealing 50 magic damage each time, with a 40% chance of paralyzing them for 2 turns, all the way up to 65% damage increase. And when attacking, 20% of the outgoing damage is converted into HP for the user, up to 26%. And his passive increases crit rate for all allies in battle by 20%, all the way up to 35%. So just having him out there on the field is just a huge buff for the team. All right, let's take a look at the next one here. So let's see what he has now. Attacks all enemies, causing 120% magic damage with a 35% chance to slow each target by 30% for 2 turns. And that can be increased to 150% of magic damage and a 50% chance of slow. So that's really, really cool there. Then his next skill, which is completely changed, attacks all enemies, causing 180 magic damage with a 75% chance to reduce physical defense and magic defense by 50% for 2 turns. Can be booked to a 3-turn cooldown, up to 210 damage and 100% chance. So really nice. And then here, attacks all enemies, causing 150 magic damage and reducing enemies' healing effects by 100%. So putting it here and making sure that it stays. And this is the cool part. Additionally, it removes all block damage and unkillable buff on each enemy. This ability cannot be resisted. So he can just straight up yoink. And he does 180 damage on a 3-turn cooldown. So he's going to be really, really, to me, really, really good now, especially if you're dealing with an unkillable comp. You bring in Mystic. You bring in Mystic, and then bam, nuke, yoink, and then you're completely taking it out. All right, so everybody agrees that this dude is the trash. Let's take a look. Activates a magic all and attacks 1 enemy and deals 100 magic damage. And attacks 1 enemy with the element of fire, deals 250 damage. Attacks 1 enemy with the element of wind and deals 250 damage. And attacks 1 enemy with the element of water and deals 250 damage. Yeah, nobody cared to use him whatsoever. But is he usable now? Can he be like Goblin Transporter? Look, he has less skills, so let's take a look. Attack an enemy 2 times in a row, causing 80 magic damage per attack. Each strike has a 25% chance to place silent on an enemy for 1 turn, which can go up to 110 damage, up to a 50% chance to place silent. And it's a 2-hitter, which is always good. All right, attacks all enemy, causing 170 magic damage with a 75% chance to steal a random buff and place block buff debuff on each target for 2 turns. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Can go up to 200 damage, and the chance can increase to 100%. So now he can actually steal a buff and place block buff on you. And then here, upon killing an enemy, the user revives a random ally with 30% of their max HP. Cooldown is on a 4-turn cooldown, but can go all the way down to a single turn cooldown. So yeah, he looks definitely viable now. Definitely looks viable. We can stop calling him absolute trash. All right, we're at the 30-minute mark, but we're getting close to the end. So we're going to keep going. We're doing pretty good here though. All right, summons a wave of darkness to attack one enemy and deals 120 magic damage. 50% chance to absorb the attack bar by 25%, damage up to 120. Feels like this happened all the time, which was great on Dracula Eye. Summons the Aura of Shadows to attack 3 enemies 4 times, dealing 65% magic damage each time and absorbing their attack bar by 30% on a 2-turn cooldown up to 80%. Fantastic move that was. Very viable. When attacking, ignores 20% of the enemy's magic defense. And after every ally's turn, there's a 10% chance that Dracula Eye immediately takes an action regardless of its speed meter. So Dracula Eye has always been good, but what possibly might change? Summons a wave of darkness to attack one enemy and deal 120 magic damage. 50% chance to absorb the attack bar by 25%, up to 150 damage, so he's still absorbing that attack bar. Summons the Aura of Shadows to attack all enemies, dealing 220 magic damage and absorbing their attack bars by 30%. So a little bit of a nerf there, but up to 250 damage and to a 3-turn cooldown. And when attacking, ignores 10% of the enemy's defense, can be booked all the way up to 24% of their defense being ignored. And after every ally turn, there's a 12% that Dracula Eye immediately takes an action regardless of its speed, can be booked up to 20% chance. So a little bit of nerf there on the A2, but then making some of the other skills a little bit more viable. So he definitely looks pretty good. All right. Looks like we have someone else that's moving into the darkness category. Swordsman Guard. She was light, if I remember correctly. Or was she wind? She actually was wind, wasn't she? She was wind. Let's see. Where are you at, Miss Swordsman Guard? There you are. So what she used to do, slash one enemy and deals 100 physical damage. Strikes one enemy with a shield. Deals 250 physical damage and taunts them for 1 turn on a 2-turn cooldown. Could be booked up to 280. And then the A1 could be booked up to 120. And then when being attacked, there's an 80% chance of counterattacking and dealing physical damage equal to 120% of the attack. Counterattack increased to 95%. And when attacking an enemy with a slashing strike, there's a 50% chance of taunting them for 1 turn on the passive. So she could just go straight taunt. Straight taunting. Very taunting. But let's take a look at her now. Let's take a look at her now and see what she's up to now. So attacking an enemy causing physical damage equal to 170 of physical defense. So she's going to be defensive base. 50% chance to taunt on the A1. Can be booked up to 75% chance and a 200 of physical damage. Physical defense as damage. So really nice A1. And then here she still has the attacking one enemy, causing physical damage equal to 420% of the defense. So just a straight hard-hitting move. And taunting him at the same time. And 2 random buffs are stolen. So that just happens all the way up to 450 damage. And then whenever the user is being attacked, a 30% chance of removing damage, of received damage is reflected back to the attacker. So she can go up to 60% of the damage being reflected back to the attacker. So just imagine she targets a nuker, she smacks them, she taunts them, and then they hit her and they knock themselves out. Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful when you're with a taunter like that. All right, Mr. Idol of Evil. Let's see, used to slash an enemy for 100 physical damage, booked up to 120. A2, attack one enemy with a heavy blow. doing 255 physical damage with a 40% chance of slowing them for 2 turns. On a 2-turn cooldown, damage would be increased once it's skilled up to 280. And then the A3, or the passive, attacks deal an additional 100 physical damage against enemies with 50 or less HP. And then that extra damage could be skilled up to 120. And then he had another passive that when attacking, there's a 60% chance of reducing the enemy's physical attack by 50% for 1 turn. So an attack down all the way up to 65% of their physical attack. So definitely interesting. Definitely an interesting kit there. Let's see what he looks like now. Oh man, looks like we're getting really close to something juicy. All right, so he has the chance now of silence. His damage can go up to 20% and a 65% chance to silence. And then randomly attack enemies 3 times, causing physical damage equal to 170% of the physical defense. And each attack has a 50% chance to place block buffs. So that can be all the way up to 75% and increase damage to I'm okay. Increase to 200% as far as the damage there. And he does defense now. All right, we're getting there. Okay, so grants control immunity to the user with the 50% chance to remove a block on the attacker when the user is under attack. What? So he grants control immunity to himself. So whenever they attack him, there's a 50% chance of a buff being removed, all the way up to 75% chance. Wow, that's crazy. That is crazy. Looks good to me. Looks good to me. All right, let's get on down here. All right, looks like we got Black Swan and Dark Tiara. All right, let's take a look at Black Swan, which I think her attacks may be the same already. So Kiss of the Black Swan attacks an enemy causing 150% magic damage and reduces attack bar by 25% if the target is under Chaos debuff. Can go up to 180 damage. Attacks all enemies causing 200 magic damage with a 75% chance to confuse each target and reduce the duration of their buffs by 1 turn. So she can confuse them all the way up to 100% chance on a 2-turn cooldown. And she can reduce their buffs. So pretty cool. And increases user damage by 50% for 2 turns. Additionally, it restores HP of all allies by 25% and places perfect invisibility on the rest of the team without the user. For 2 turns. And can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can just stay. Yeah, can just stay. Looks like it's just, you just get rid of all the cooldowns, so it just happens. Is that the passive? No, it's the active skill. Dang. All right, revives a fallen ally with 15% of their max HP, and then grants them an instant turn. Looks like it can be taken all the way down to a 3-turn cooldown, and then 35% HP restoration. All right, let's see if there's any. That's all the new stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that one was all the new stuff. So that's where she's at now. So I don't think that that's much of a change. Well, I guess it was. So she used to do damage to everybody. Used to imbue with fanaticism, which causes their attackers to have a 50% chance of confusing. She restored her own HP. And then she used to gain fanaticism, which causes their attack. So she used to kind of confuse people and stuff with the passive. But yeah, that's a lot of reading there. So we're just going to skip over that. But now she's totally different. She's totally different. So again, she's going to be kind of like your buffer there. We're not going to go over that last one there because we're kind of used to that there. I'm not going to go over that little, because it's an Evo Phantom basically. So yeah, now she has just that chance of reviving somebody and they get a turn immediately, but they don't go back under veil. Well, I'm not sure if they don't go back under a veil. Maybe she revives them and they go under a veil. That'll be really cool to test out. But yeah, she looks really, really good. She also restores HP. So she's looking good. She's looking good. And then also too, joining the team, Dark Tarya. Let's take a look at what she has. Attacks an enemy causing 120% magic damage with a 25% chance to execute the attack again, up to 150%. Also, she can attack all enemies causing 190 magic damage and stealing enemy HP equal to 20% of the damage done and redistribute it to everybody. Additionally, there's a 35% chance to reduce magic defense and physical defense by 50% for 2 turns on each enemy. And that can be increased all the way up to 220 damage and a 50% chance to drop the defensive break. So looking pretty good, looking pretty good. And then here, attacks all enemies causing 170% magic damage and steals enemy HP equal to 20% of the damage done. Additionally, there's a 30% chance to stun each enemy for 1 turn. So that stun could go up to 50% and her damage 200%. So she kind of does a little bit of healing, but pairs really well with something like Black Swan. So she's under a veil and then she just busts out with these 2 attacks here. Oh, goodness. We made it through. So there we go. That's a look at all the Dark Phantoms. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or reach out to some of the other lovely people that you see within the Discord. And we will see you all again later. We'll try to get the other ones cranked out so that you all can continue to see what will be updated. Again, these things are subject to change, so they're not going to be exactly how things are on release, but they're going to be pretty close to what we see here. So we hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.